Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. So excited to have you here to talk about one of my favorite topics, review generation. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. The chat is open. Thank you to everyone who is sharing what they're watching. I am working on my list as we speak. I'm a few episodes behind in White Lotus. I'm too freaked out by Severance, and I loved Paradise. So those are what I'm watching. But feel free to continue the chat there or to chat as this session goes on. The Q&A is open, so feel free to drop questions in there as we go. We'll take some time at the very end of the session to answer those. This session will be recorded and we will share the slides as a follow-up. So if you want to share that with a friend or revisit any of this, definitely check it out. And to kick things off, my name is Caitlin Hess. I am the Director of Customer Marketing here at G2. Like I said, review generation is one of my favorite topics. I have been, collecting reviews on G2 for almost 10 years now. I was a G2 customer twice over before I jumped over to this side. And I'm joined today by Nicole Quillo, who is our Senior Product Marketing Manager, who is the queen of reviews internally. So excited to have her here and her expertise. To get started, quick look at our agenda. We'll talk a little bit about why reviews are important. If you're here, you probably don't need much convincing, but wanted to highlight some of the new trends that we're seeing in terms of reviews. Next, we'll jump into building your review strategy. So we'll talk a little bit about how to get started if you haven't yet, or new ideas for generating reviews. Then Nicole's going to take us through a live walkthrough on how to auto-generate a reference page, which is one of my favorite customer marketing tools. And then we'll go through some hands-free review accelerators and then spotlight our brand new G2 Review Gen certification. So to get started, why do reviews matter? This is a great stat here. So according to Forrester, 84% of decision makers start their buying process with a referral, which means that they are looking for what your customers are saying about you, what they're saying about your product, the pros, the cons. And we have generally over 100 million viewers to G2 annually. And so I always say, like, whether you have a review gen strategy or not, whether you are collecting reviews on G2 or not, there's a good chance that people are looking there anyway. So making sure that you're showing up in the best possible way on G2 is super important for those viewers. This is a sort of spotlight of what we call our reviews to revenue playbook, and I'll show you sort of the broader one on the next slide here, but really establishing trust, building credibility, and then knowing when to strike is taking the power of your reviews and stretching it all the way across, generating revenue. So when you think about G2 and your success there, it really all starts with that profile and your reviews. So building that trust and your reputation, making the short list. We know that only 5% of buyers are in market at any time, and a lot of them are coming to G2 to find their next right fit. This then you can take that data, help you drive quality pipeline. And then also another one of my favorite G2 plays is protecting and growing revenue. You can also see, are any of your current customers shopping for maybe a competitor or an alternative solution, or even better, maybe something that you typically think of as a cross-sell product. You can see, are they looking on G2 for those? So I mentioned that reviews to revenue playbook. You'll be seeing a lot of this from G2 over the coming year. This is really our theme, and where all of our content is going to roll up to is these plays here. And so when we're thinking about mastering review generation, it's really around collecting reviews, asking your customers directly, always on review collection. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means here, and then running those campaigns with G2, surfacing those reviews and leveraging that content to sort of feed that flywheel. And speaking of flywheels, this is sort of the ultimate flywheel. I wish we had a little bit of an arrow here. But if you start in that generate reviews quadrant, the blue quarter of the circle here. This is where it all starts. So we've been talking a little bit about why it's important to generate reviews. If you start there, that leads to an increase in traffic. So we see profiles that are upgraded, complete, and have reviews see 17 times more visibility on G2, and buyers spend more time on those profiles. Then you can use your customer voice, so leverage those quotes, the video testimonials, reference pages, which we'll talk about, G2 reports, social assets, grid placement, badges, all of that good stuff that you get from us are really only valuable or complete if you have a great set of reviews to pull from. And then finally, planning strategically. So our VP of product always says feedback is a gift. And so every review really is an opportunity for your customers to not only leave feedback publicly, but it's feedback about your products or services that you can then action on. So I have also run NPS programs in the past, and getting people to respond to surveys is really hard. If you've got solid review content, it's just another piece of customer voice that you can pass along to your internal teams. And then finally, this is sort of a new one here. We know that the way people are buying is changing. And so previously, even a year ago, 2 years ago, most of these buying journeys started with a Google search. Now we're seeing that a lot of them are starting with a conversation with an AI tool. And so one of the cool things is that G2 right now is the #1 source for a lot of these LLMs when it comes to customer reviews. And you can see on the side here some really cool stats. So 89% of B2B buyers are using Gen AI in at least one area of their purchasing process. 9 in 10 B2B buyers have adopted Gen AI when they're thinking about adoption. And then 90% of buyers who use Gen AI for $1 million plus purchases reported positive outcomes. So like I mentioned, this is a relatively new trend, but one I think we're just seeing the beginnings of. And so knowing that these LLMs are surfacing G2 reviews, it's another reason why generating reviews is so important. So whether they're coming to G2 directly or they're searching, doing a Google search, we pop up first most often, but then also showing up in these LLMs is more important than ever before. So you're like, that's great, I'm bought in. How do I do it? So when we talk about building a review gen strategy, I always talk about the 4 pillars of review collection. And for me, that's ask everyone for reviews. So I know there's like an inclination to just ask for reviews from your advocates or from your most happy customers, but really buyers and your team gets the most accurate, correct, best fit, next customers by asking everyone for reviews. You get a clear picture of what's actually happening, how your customers are actually using your products and tools. So limiting it to just your advocates really is sort of limiting what your buyers are seeing as well. Second one is asking for reviews consistently. I've been there before where it's like quarterly, right before reports, I'm going to send out a campaign, and that's the only time I'm going to do it. With the way G2's algorithm works and also how buyers want to buy, having recent reviews is super important. And so when you're asking for reviews consistently, you're getting sort of that constant drumbeat of reviews coming through, which helps with your rankings and also helps you show up better with people who are shopping for solutions. The third one here is ask for review updates. This one is, again, one of my favorite places. I feel like I keep saying that. I've got a lot of favorites. But the review updates give buyers the most accurate picture of what's happening with your product. These are also really cool because sometimes you'll get someone who maybe leaves a review right after implementation, and then a year later, you ask them for a review and you get a totally different perspective from them. That's again, cool for internal feedback to see how are customers using your products, how are they feeling after a year of using it, how are they adopting it. It's also really cool for your buyers to see, like, okay, this is cool. They felt super strongly after implementation. They still feel this way a year later. That's somebody I want to partner with. And then the last one here is responding to reviews. So This is it's a tough job. It's one that I do a lot here at G2. It's one that our product team takes pretty seriously. But responding to reviews is important for a whole bunch of different reasons. Number one being you want your customers to know that you appreciate their feedback. So when you're asking them for other feedback, they're willing to give it. They feel important to you. They know that their voice is heard. I think that's like the number one reason to do it. Number two is at least if you're responding to reviews on G2, that response shows up right on your profile. So as buyers are coming, they're shopping for a product like yours, they see a review that maybe says, I love this tool, but I have had an issue with this. And you've got a response right there saying, thanks for that feedback. Here's how we're planning to solve that, or here's a new feature that was released. It's sort of like doubling down on like marketing that you care about what your customers have to say while making your customer feel important too. So highly recommend responding to reviews. I feel like I could do a whole G2U Edge session on that, and maybe we'll do that in the future. If you're interested, drop it in the chat. But next, we're going to move on to building a diversified review collection strategy. And I should have called this out on the last slide, but if you saw that stat there, it said that 85% of buyers consider reviews that are older than 3 months old irrelevant, which is like super scary when you're thinking about, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this constant stream of reviews? This is another four-pronged approach here. When we talk about the basics, I think of those one-off point-in-time campaigns to engage customers. If you're a G2 customer, we can run those campaigns for you. If you're not, it's pulling a list of customers, inviting them to leave a review. The second one here is set it and forget it. So Nicole's going to talk a lot about what this looks like here for us and a lot of our customers. But those are integrations, our custom API widgets, and the Review Us button. So you're able to serve up a pop-up to your customers right in your app. One of my favorite things about this is that it's a little bit of a shorter review form. The customer doesn't have to do any authentication because we're asking them directly in your app. We know that they are a customer of yours. And the results from this are pretty incredible. Another thing I do here is I write a lot of our case studies. And so I have talked to customer after customer who's turned this on and been shocked at how many reviews they've gotten. So highly recommend if you're not using this as one of your plays today, to check that out. The third is in person. So I feel like in-person events are back. If you're holding any kind of in-person customer conference, roadshow, whatever that might look like, asking your customers to leave you reviews while they're in person is a great way to sort of up your game on reviews. They're already currently engaged with you. I've also seen this work really well with virtual events or even in webinars. But thinking about those opportunities to engage with your customers is a great way to sort of think about where can and should I be asking for reviews. And then finally, across the life cycle, this one, it looks like we maybe didn't update the text here, but thinking about where all of the places across your customer life cycle that you can ask for reviews. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a couple slides here. Next, this is my guide to capturing authentic feedback. So this has been kind of sprinkled in so far, but instead of this, do this. So instead of asking only your 8+ NPS responders to leave reviews, automate your review asks, no matter what a customer's NPS response is. Again, feedback is a gift. And so we want to capture that from across your customer base. Same with only including your advocates and outreach campaigns. Instead, pull lists that's reflective of your entire customer base. This is really going to give you more meaningful feedback, give people who are buying more meaningful feedback to help you narrow in on those best fit customers. The third is only asking for reviews after a customer renews. Instead of doing that, let's embed those review asks through the customer lifecycle, and I'll talk about a few places I would recommend next. And then running review campaigns once per quarter, turn on those G2 review levers and ask for reviews directly in your product. So when we talk about opportunities for review asks, these are just a few suggestions to hopefully get you thinking about where are all of the places that I'm engaging with my customers that I can potentially embed a review ask. So after implementation is a great time. They're generally highly engaged with you. they've gotten a taste of the product, you'll get really good feedback on your implementation process by asking there. Same thing with at renewal or during QBRs. Again, you're super top of mind for your customers. They're really engaged. They're much more likely to give you feedback there. We talked about webinars or events. After a support ticket, embedding a follow-up ask for G2 review, following any NPS or CSAT response. Again, if they've already given you feedback, they're much more likely to give it a second time because you're top of mind. They're actively thinking of you. In-product pop-ups on your sign-in screen is another good place to put that. Asking through your partner networks or direct outreach from your team. Dropping it into email signatures, especially for like your CSMs or your account managers, the people who are actively reaching out to your customers most often, putting it in their signatures there. If you have a customer community, and then also asking in your customer newsletter. So quickly, a lot of times I'll hear like, well, how do I ask? And my answer is always like, you just ask. But put together some language that you can borrow if you want to try to embed this into some places in your life cycle. So maybe after a renewal, we're happy to continue working with you. Would you be willing to share your experience with us over the past year by writing us a review on G2? This one here is maybe after a support ticket closes. I'm glad you have been able to help you solve this issue. Would you mind writing an online review about your experience? We'd love your honest feedback on the support we provided. And then finally, maybe after an expansion or if they sign on for a new product, we're excited to test out some of these new features with you. Would you be willing to share your past experience? So really easy ways to just ask for a review. And then last slide from me, wanted to share a few examples of places I have seen customers asking for reviews that I think are pretty impactful and easy to implement. The first one here, bottom left, that is from Flowcast. They really set out to embed their review asks everywhere in their customer lifecycle. In their newsletter, they actually have a section at the very bottom called customer surveys and feedback, where they're asking for different feedback in different places. And one of those asks was a G2 review. The one in the center here, this is postal. So you can tell this is their login screen. Right as you go to log in, a little pop-up says, hey, we'd love your feedback. Will you leave us a G2 review in exchange for some swag? Bottom right here, this one is actually the registration page for customer event. So right on there, they had a chat bot there that popped up as someone's chatting with them, says, hey, glad you're interested in the event. Would you be willing to leave us a G2 review? And then at the top right here is, this is from Salesforce at Dreamforce. They had a whole review, I don't know what you want to call it, a portion of their event that was really, really cool. So this was a little card that was in everyone's swag bag. Leave us a review in exchange for a hoodie. It was exclusive. You could only get it by leaving a review, and there was a limited amount there. So you can see there's a QR code right there. If you took this, brought it up to the swag table to show you left a review, you got the custom swag, which was pretty cool. And before we jump into the next thing, we want to know, like, what is your biggest challenge to getting reviews today? So go ahead and drop that in the chat. I'm going to pass it over to Nicole to talk through some of the objections we get most often and ways to overcome that.
Thank you, Caitlin. Hi, everyone. I am Nicole Quillo, a product marketing manager on the team. Really excited to chat with you today about all things reviews and starting with what might be holding us back. So hopefully you're adding some of your struggles into the chat so we can address them. Starting with, we've really heard it all. So we've heard all the things from review collection is too hard, it's not worth the effort, or it just doesn't work. And if you're saying those things to yourself, maybe right now, you're not alone. Some customers tell us they're struggling to beat out competitors on the G2 grid. The truth is, review volume and recency, like Caitlin mentioned, are two of the biggest levers you can pull to improve your position on the grid. And you don't need to overthink it as well. Collecting all reviews, not just promoters, will move the needle and create a better experience for buyers on G2. Others worry that G2 review collection is time consuming and costly. So we get that as well. And so our team is always hard at work making our in app collection levers more flexible and efficient for reviewers and yourself as far as implementation goes as a customer. And you can set it and forget it. So with those in-app strategies, you can turn it on and keep reviews consistent without having to worry about when's the next time you need a refresh. We've also heard from customers who've tried before that they didn't see results. And if that's you, the key difference now is that we have in-app we have enhancements to our collection, like I mentioned, events that you're able to use review booths through with G2 review booths, and new services that we'll talk about in just a moment. So all great stuff there. And on to the next slide, we have even more. So some companies, maybe you're here saying, I have concerns around privacy, compliance, especially with GDPR. Again, in-app review collection, a great one to solve for that as well. Really hitting a lot of pain points in one with in-app. No login required, no emails are stored on our side, and opt-in is always a part of the flow. And finally, one of the biggest hurdles our customers overcome is the fear of negative reviews. But the data actually shows that the reviews collected in-app tend to be more positive, with the average ratings being above 4.0 most of the time. So it really is a lower risk and higher reward opportunity than you might expect, but totally understand that is a hurdle sometimes that you have to overcome. And bottom line, if any of these concerns sound familiar to you, myself, Caitlin, and the G2 team are always here to help you with answers and make those barriers lower than ever. So let's get into some tactical review boosters. Caitlin mentioned that we would be talking all about in-app integrations, widgets, our API, and we are going to do just that. But starting with grounding ourselves really with why in-app has really been successful. We have seen that our customers using in-app tools generate 3 times more reviews than those without. And that's because there's a shorter review form and the reviewers are in the native application during a key point in their workflow, ready to submit a review at the right time. So starting with our easiest, I would say, to implement, you'll see on all of these next few slides, quick snippets on why we love these tools at G2, step by step, if you want a screenshot, or we'll send the recording after, and then what stakeholder you might need to loop in to help get these tools activated. We always say, like Caitlin mentioned, having a diverse strategy is important because you'll see there's a couple nuances and differences to these tools, making it really great to have all in your toolkit, not just one. So with our Review Us button, we really love this one, like I said, because it's pretty easy to implement. As a marketer, you are pulling in your CMS admin or your Google Tag Manager admin. So I know our web developer on our side who I need to loop in. And then from sending them the embed codes, we are off to the races, collecting reviews via a button, just like the Review Us button is called, that is customizable to your color preference, and a very simple and sleek design that will open up our short review form. So a quick and easy way to get a review collection lever on your website, and then a quick way to get feedback from reviewers. Moving up to a little bit, still on the complexity level as easy, a Review Us widget. So the big difference between the button and the widget really is the visual. So this one has the G2 branding behind it if you want to give context to the reviewer, where they are reviewing, having the G2 brand on the widget. This is a great example of where you can place the widget or what the widget would look like. And this one uses the standard review form. So calling out a main difference between the button and the widget besides the visual, the form. So this form will be our standard review form. So great to have in your website or in your newsletter when you have the standard review form in your toolkit. With your review campaigns as well, you're able to get a lot of robust feedback through that full form. If you are a customer of Delighted and G2, then we have an integration for you. So after a customer on your side submits a survey, you can pop up a review ask like you can see here in our visual. This one is fairly simply to get activated as well once you connect with your Delighted admin at your company. And this one's really great to bypass the G2 login for customers as well. So really a quick and painless way to click and write a G2 review and skip the sharing of lists if you have privacy concerns that prohibit you from allowing G2 to help with your review collection through lists and you're a Delighted customer. This one is definitely for you. For Pendo, those who use Pendo, this one is a bit on the more intermediate side of complexity. We like to say that for Pendo, we want our customers and our marketers to align with the Pendo admin as well as the product team, the developers or the engineers who oversee your product. That way they can advise where it is best to place these in-app modals. So that is really one of the biggest barriers I see when I'm chatting with customers is that first step, which is to connect internally. From there, having common ground on why it's important to collect these reviews within the application, then it's great to move towards the how we're going to do it and when we're going to do it within the application. So this Pendo integration really allows you to skip the sharing, the list sharing as well, but gives you even more customization as it comes to when it comes to prompting the reviewer or the user in your application to write a review. You can get really creative through Pendo. And then last, but certainly not the least, we have our review API. So this is the most customizable way to collect reviews, and it is designed for a seamless user experience. We've just finished some really great enhancements to this flow, which you'll see in just a moment. So while it is more on the complex side to get set up, the benefits are endless. So with these recent enhancements, the review form is modernized. It has a new look and feel, as well as the short review form that you've seen on our other tools. And this allows you to really keep your brand top of mind and fresh with customer-driven insights through this API. So another one where you will align internally prior to setting this up. But really, whether you're just starting out in review collection or looking to diversify your strategy, all of these tools are really great to enable and get more reviews flowing through your product profile. As with demand generation, they can see higher visibility and engagement, and product and customer marketers can benefit from increased validation and maybe an increase in case studies as well, which we will also talk about in a moment. But for now, I won't leave you hanging too long. Let's see that new flow and what the short form looks like for some of these tools and integrations. So as you can see, as the reviewer is going through a quick about you section to validate who they're reviewing for, and then through a shortened prompt, they're getting asked how likely they are to refer the product, what do they like, what do they might not like, and then from there, submitting the review with next steps on understanding that there's moderation involved before publishing. So really great for Pendo, Delighted, and our in-app collection. That enhanced review experience is live now. All right, so maybe you might be telling you or talking to yourself, thinking that this is a bit too much for you at this time, or maybe this is a stretch goal to get these in-app review levers on, and that's okay wherever you are in your review collection journey. Excited to share a new hands-free review accelerator as a service. So we have a new service at G2 that we are beginning our early access program for called Review Managed Services. It is designed to help customers drive a steady stream of reviews like in-app without any lifting. So we understand that every company is different and that everyone, though, is very, very busy. And our team manages the execution, monitoring, and optimization for reviews. So customers like yourself can focus on your strategy of boosting your credibility, visibility, or your grid performance. And our team can focus on the review collection piece. So thanks to early pilot findings as well, we've already seen participants increase their review velocity and getting ahead of their annual goals for review collection and not waiting till the last minute to submit review requests before report season. So we're super, super excited to be opening up this early access program. So a quick step-by-step for what this program might look like. In about 4 steps, you'll sign up, we'll go through a selection process, and then from there, we'll begin the collection and analyzing of reviews. So the key points to the review managed services are that if you're a demand generation marketer and you're looking to increase win rates and speed up deal cycles, review managed services allows you to do that without putting in the heavy lifting of collecting reviews through campaigns. We understand there's a lot of campaigns already being run if you're a demand gen marketer, and so this is one that we can take off your plate. And as a product marketer here who needs review insights to shape value messaging and competitive insights, this is really great because I can really reap the benefits of these reviews coming through, and as well as customer marketing, just like Caitlin, boosting reviews, more reviews without extra headcount is such a bonus. So if we haven't already, we'll add the link into the chat. Thank you. And if you're interested, we will reach out over these early access program details if you are a candidate while we are still in this early program. Great. So we talked a lot about generating reviews, the importance, but now how can we put this all into action? Once we have these amazing reviews, can we build pipeline with these reviews? And the answer is yes. We have made great strides in enhancements to reference pages. So we heard customer feedback. If you haven't used our reference pages before, well, today you're going to get in there yourself. But we heard reference pages have been so relevant for our customers to create a one-stop shop for quotes, badges, and reports all in one spot. But there was an opportunity to make it easier. And so with these, with our new auto generator, we're calling it, for our reference pages, you're able to filter by company size, audience, target audience, all to create a new asset for marketing and sales in 5 minutes or less. So we're actually going to go through this together in a live demo so you can actually set one up yourself with us. So with the link in the chat or typing in the link, we'll get into My G2. So once we're in My G2, if you don't find yourself on this page automatically, type in reference pages in the search bar, and we'll give it a moment just to make sure we're all on the same page. A good pro tip also for My G2, if you're ever not finding what you need, the searching capability in the quick nav is really, really awesome to send you to the right place. So love using that one. But for this example, we are on the reference pages and we're gonna click on the auto generate reference pages purple pill. From there, you'll notice that there's a few prompts and they are all optional. So you can go detailed or less detailed on what you are looking for your reference page. So the goal of this reference page is to highlight the importance of reviews. From there, you can select your target segment. So this is great to give to your sales team if they are split up by segment, or you're looking for product specific reference pages if your sales rep is selling a specific piece of your product, or competitive differentiators in your industry. These are great ways to pull and extract insights from the reviews and put them into one place. We've also seen customers use them on their marketing collateral and materials and leave behinds in email nurtures. So really the opportunities are endless for these reference pages. Clicking here onto the create the reference page, once you have added in what you're looking for, we'll give it a moment to load, and then we'll see that asset get generated. You'll see new pop up, and then your URL is ready to go. So clicking on the URL, we'll see the reference page here. You'll see it looks like an extension of your G2 profile. So you have your banner. We have the CTA contact support for us pulling through from our profile. We'll get to making updates from there in just a moment. Customer quotes at the top, and then scrolling all the way down, you can see the review compilation. So different reviews pulling in from what you were looking for in your query. And then our badges. So if you haven't seen yesterday with summer reports, we have brand new badges that are live for the spring report season that are pulling through these reference pages as well. If we did want to make an update, just since we're here and we have a moment to show you, we can get back into the My G2 side and click the edit icon. Looks like a little pencil on paper, and make some edits to whether it be the title, your CTA. For us, we have our support CTA there, but there can be a change if you'd like to link out to a lead form on your website. Putting a UTM on there is also really great, especially getting them in nurture streams. Updating those crowd quotes. Opportunities are endless, but we hope that with this enhancement, this is a great foundation for you to start these marketing and sales ready assets, and then share them through your teams. Awesome. With that, I will pass it back over to Caitlin to discuss our certification opportunity that you probably already are very close to getting since you sat through this presentation thus far.
Thanks so much, Nicole. And I love reference pages, especially as a customer marketer. I think if you are in customer marketing, you've probably gotten the request of like, I'll use the example. One of those was reviews for a veterinary clinic. And so if someone asked me for a case study for a veterinary clinic, I would say, I don't have one. But let me see what we have in terms of reviews, and you could spin up a whole reference page that's specific to that use case or specific to that industry. So it's a super cool way to make your reviews work harder for you. As Nicole mentioned, the next step here is certification. So G2 University is an awesome online resource, totally free for G2 customers or really anyone. Feel free to log in. We have courses on everything from like the back end of our algorithm to buyer intent basics to building your brand to reporting. And so the Review Gen certification focuses on 3 key areas around building trust and reputation, making the short list, protecting and growing your revenue. It usually takes about an hour to get certified. So it's 3 separate courses. You can start, finish in one sitting. You can start and come back to it. But at the end, you'll get this really snazzy certificate that you can share on LinkedIn, add to your resume. If you're brand new to Review Gen, it's a really great place to start. If you've been generating reviews for a while and you're looking to streamline it, a lot of the lessons that we shared today, it just digs a layer deeper into all of that. So highly, highly recommend that. Erin just dropped the link to that in the chat. And with that, we'll open it up for Q&A. So I know we have a lot of great questions in there. Feel free to continue to drop those in as we go. Let's see. Uh, so a few questions here. Can you expand on updating a review strategy? Are you asking for a new review or for them to edit their existing review? How do you typically frame the ask? So this is a little bit tricky because I would normally say we're asking them to update their existing review. So they're not necessarily going back in and hitting edit. It is almost like they're leaving a new review. It's a lot shorter, obviously, because they've given a lot of information already, but it's updating their sentiment. And I don't know if you noticed, one of the examples I shared or we saw in that reference page, it was a review that had been originally left in March of 2021, was updated in November of 2024. And so one of a fun ask that I just learned about from one of our customers who used to work at Sendoso is fresh cookies for a fresh review. And so she ran a campaign where she asked people who had left a review to update their review. And in return, we do have an integration with the Sendoso platform. She was able to offer fresh cookies for that. So that's one fun idea. But I think the framing of the ask is really like, thanks so much for sharing your feedback. Now that you've been a customer for, even longer, we'd love to hear how things are going. Please share your feedback with us on G2. So that one is an easy way. If you've seen on the back end of my G2, oh gosh, what's the right word, Nicole, when they start to lose a little bit of value after time?
Decay.
Decay. Okay, so review decay. This is a really good way to fight review decay by getting people to update those. So one of the challenges I saw is like, how am I supposed to get hundreds of reviews? I've already asked all my customers for a review, or I'm asking them for a feedback survey. This is a good way to get new reviews without necessarily having to tap a brand new audience. Let's see. I'm looking at all of the questions here. These are really great questions.
And while you find the next question, Caitlin,
Yeah.
I'll also share some inside scoop from the product team on the G2 side to make requesting review updates even easier. There is going to be a review update campaign functionality in my G2 coming out in the next month or so. So think about it the same way you would do a request a review campaign within my G2 for our team to reach out to your user base. We'll be able to do the same idea within my G2, which is pulling from your recent or maybe very, very old reviews, depending on where they sit. And that'll be a really easy way for you to request updates in the future without the manual side of things.
Awesome. So great question from Matthew here. What is the purpose of a reference page? Where would it be used? So I shared a little bit about how I would use it from a customer marketing perspective, but typically we see these get used in a few different places. One, by sales teams. So if they are doing outreach or targeting a specific segment, a specific use case, a specific region, they'll create those, or we'll create them for them, and then they can use those in their one-to-one outreach. We've also seen success with teams using those in nurture campaigns. So one of like the best plays you could do is if you also have a G2 intent data package, you can basically take like anyone who was viewing your profile on G2, follow it up with a paid ad talking about the value of your product as told by users on G2, and link them out to a reference page. I've seen it used in email nurtures or in a piece of content, like as the sort of next step landing page. It's a good way to connect customer voice with demand gen motions. Anything I missed, Nicole?
I was just reading the next questions. No, I think you hit the nail on the head on that answer. And then for me with like product marketing side of things, I'm just always looking for creative ways to find sentiment for my product lines that I oversee. And so even keeping an eye on this isn't related to the reference pages, but through like a Slack integration or through the My G2 notifications, just keeping an eye in general on when reviews are coming through and reading them as quickly as I can keeps me up to date on how our users are experiencing our product.
Great. One other question from a different Kelly. What are some tips or tricks for activating reps to help drive reviews in one-to-one conversations? This is a challenge I know very well. I would say the best way to do this is make sure it becomes a whole company initiative or a whole team initiative. So it can't be like me, Caitlin, the customer marketer, asking the teams to help me with this initiative that's important to me. So I think explaining to them, what are review sites in general? How do people shop for your product? Where are they going to learn more about it? Helps just double down on the importance of why asking for reviews is important to the business, not to customer marketing. And then I think making it as easy as possible for them to make the ask. So maybe that's adding it to a talk track or building a slide that they can just drop into any conversation they're having with a customer. I've gone as far as like drafting emails that they can just copy and paste and telling them, hey, here's who I would recommend you reach out to get a review. Like making it as plug and play as possible and making sure they know why it's important are my two main tips. I would say another thing that I've engaged in is like, this is not the right way to say it, but like pitting them against each other, making it a competition. So if you are a G2 customer, we can provide you with UTM links for each of those different CSMs or account managers, and then do reporting on which links reviews are coming in through. And so I've done it where like I had a specific UTM for every single CSM or every single account manager. I was weekly providing a like leaderboard publicly in Slack, calling out the people who were doing a great job. And I saw that actually really motivated people. Like they wanted to be on the top of that list. We did it one year tied to the timing of the Summer Olympics. And so we did a full Olympic theme contest and then ceremony at our quarterly all hands where we gave a gold, silver, and bronze. I've also seen it work where people do like true sales spiffs for people, like pay your CSM for every review that they've gotten, or the top 3 people get a prize or a cash prize or whatever you think is going to motivate them. So those are some of my tips and tricks from my own former playbook. I will say it's much easier now that we work at G2 because they totally get the value of driving reviews. And so a lot of times we do ask them, although we do still turn it into a competition, and it's usually really fun. Let's see. Sarah asked, sorry, I clicked the wrong button. How do I turn on the in-app API? Great question, Sarah. Nicole, do you want to take this one or do you want me? I feel like you're the expert.
Yes. So the first place to start for turning on the in-app API is to get our implementation deck that we will link into the chat and our documentation. That is the first place to go to just really ground yourself on what is needed as far as an implementation goes. For that implementation deck, it does a really great job of helping you sell the value of implementing in-app at your company. So from that resource that we will get to you, you will have those internal alignment calls. I'm a big believer in having those calls internally first to get on the same page. And then from there, I'm told by our developers at G2 that the lift to get the in-app integration through our API is pretty self explanatory from a developer and engineer perspective. So once they get the documentation that will be provided to them via our G2 documentation, they have what they need to get the prompt onto your application. And so I would say a good ballpark estimate, we have worked in sprints, so 2 weeks, but getting on the roadmap sometimes is also a place to just acknowledge. From there, once it is on, like we said, it's kind of a set it and forget it. You'll see those reviews come in, and then there's also the ability to have the user exit out if they're not interested in writing the review at that time.
Awesome. Next question is from Caitlin. How are you pulling the list of folks to ask for a refresh? Is it just using the folks who said they would be a reference in the future? That is one really great way to do it. So what Caitlin is referring to is one of the questions that is asked on the review form is, are you willing to be a reference for this product? And so they check a box. In the back end of my G2, you can download a CSV of everyone who checked that box. I love to use those to help feed a reference program, or if you're looking for advocates for a champions program or people to give you product feedback. They're great candidates because this is a total sidebar, but like they've already said like, yes, I'm willing to give them feedback publicly, and they're opting in to do more. So for sure, you should be utilizing that list. But yeah, Caitlin, I think that's a great place to start. The other thing I've seen people do is if they're not sure if they left a review, because sometimes reviews come in anonymously, reaching out to like the list you used 6 months ago or a year ago to ask them for a review is the best way. I do know that some improvements might be coming to this product in the future, so definitely keep an eye out for some updates there. But that's honestly, I don't know that I would have suggested that, but that is a great place to start, is anyone who opted in to be a reference. Question from Kelly here. Love the fresh cookies example. For someone who is looking at the negative review, what is the experience, what they see in terms of the updated review? If it's new, are they linked? Yes. So the star rating will be whatever the new star rating is when they see it right on your profile. And then the date will say, March 2025. Next to it in parentheses, it says updated from March 2021. And I believe, actually, Nicole, you might know better than me, it shows the new review first, and then at the bottom, their original review is linked. Is that true?
Yes, and then there are going to be some improvements which make it easier to visualize what is an update and what is brand new. And so I'm just trying to find an example right now of what it would look like in current state. But once I find that, I will link it in the chat. But it is right now, you're able to see it on the front end of the G2 profile that a review has been updated with that star rating and the content.
Cool. And then another question for you, Nicole. Do updated reviews play into that quarter's grid reports?
Yes, they do. And so I think there's two paths through G2 with updating reviews. And so what Caitlin has been mentioning has been review updates that automatically happen through our G2 team, just to keep the reviews fresh on G2.com. It's kind of happening in the background, that we have an amazing team reaching out to update reviews based on communication preferences always. And that's one piece of the puzzle. And then the second piece is that you can always ask for updates to reviews, whether it be responding to a review on your profile, like we have mentioned. But the third piece that I mentioned was the new flow within my G2. And so once we get closer to launching that functionality, there'll be a lot more resources to provide you on how we exactly pull the list and who is getting pulled from your recent reviewers. I'd like to say that if you go into my G2 and you check on your review activity section of the profile, there's a kind of a visual to see your review decay. And so if there are a lot of reviews that have been sitting there for years, those are great people to potentially reach out to. And we're just working on the G2 side of things to make it easier. So we will do the heavy lifting, and then you will have all the resources and information on how those lists are compiled and up to standard email and communication practices.
And then one more, Nicole, that I actually don't know the answer to, so I'm hoping you do. Do updated reviews count as a new review within your total review count?
I am 90% sure that it is yes. And so who is asking? Michelle Park. We will follow up on the exact answer, but I believe in our scoring methodology too. We can double check that is correct, but I'm 90% sure.
All right. So just a couple minutes here. We'll answer this quick question from Olivia. What is the best way or multiple ways to utilize G2 if you don't have a paid plan? Awesome question. I think it comes back to that, like, whether you are there or not, your prospects are probably coming to G2. We have hundreds of millions of buyers who visit G2 profiles every single year. I think the best thing to do is, if you haven't yet, claim your profile. So that's a super easy way to get started. Make sure that all of your information is up to date there. Make sure that you are showing up in the best way possible. Even with just that free profile, there's a lot that you can customize. And then also it just becomes a place where you can point people, like, want to hear what our customers are saying about us, check out our profile on G2. So pushing people to leave you reviews there as well. Those are sort of like the top two ways I would say how to best utilize G2. And then, of course, if and when you're ready to do more, we'd love to partner with you on that. So with 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, I am going to wrap us up here. So as we mentioned before, G2 University, we have certifications available. We have individual courses. There really is something for everyone, every use case, every persona. So check it out at sell.g2.com/G2-university. All of those courses and certifications are totally free. I saw that was a question as well that we didn't get to. So please check those out. And then this session that we're doing now, we do try to do these monthly, bi-monthly webinars. So make sure you join us for a future session. Thanks so much to everyone who joined us here live. Thanks to anyone who's watching the recording. If you have any questions, feel free to connect with me or Nicole directly. We love talking to customers, prospects, anyone who's thinking about reviews are our people. So feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. And we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks.